new idea you've just learned about all over the internet, and why it's important to understand why storylines exist now because of previous historical stories that were told. Hi, I am Brad James.
And I'm Michael Rampola.
My soapbox, we're talking about the importance of pop culture and the origins of where stories come from. But today, we're not talking about that. About why collaboration is not scary and you should embrace it. But before we do that, a word from our sponsors. Over to you, Michael.
As a small business owner, you didn't get started in your business just to sit behind a desk all day and just to make your business run behind the scenes and not be out meeting customers, making sales, and making other people happy. But if that's where you're finding yourself right now, then what you need is a better operating system. And that's why Spear OS provides the handbook that your business should have come with. We all are looking for systems and processes and instructions to just make it easier for us to do the things that we love to do and not spend so much time doing the things that we don't. Spear OS is a system that gives you all of the templates, tools, tricks, and systems you need to run your business at its optimal level so you can achieve more and have a better day. Reach out to us at spearity.com to learn more about Spear OS and the system for small business. Over to you, Brad.
And running a business includes marketing, always does. You don't have customers coming in, you don't have a business. So you can run a great business, but it's only a business if you have customers, which means you need some sort of marketing. If you're having trouble with that, do me a favor. Reach out to my friend Erin at Cream City Marketing, and she's going to help you out. Email Erin at creamcitymarketing.com, and she'll put you on the path with a good strategy to help actually grow your business with marketing. All right.
So this is our unofficial Halloween. All right. Okay. All right. Deep cleansing breath. All right. Again, look for a future behind the scenes episode. Extra sketchy ideas. This is technically our Halloween episode because Halloween's coming up, and we decided to frame this under collaboration. Sometimes a scary word because people maybe have had a bad experience with it. Maybe it's that shadow over there in the dark and you don't quite know what it is. So Brad and I are donning our very sketchy, sometimes literally sketchy Halloween costumes. Brad, what are you going as this episode?
What does it look like?
I'm going Indiana Jones.
Let me, God, you ruined it.
You asked, you said, what do you think? I answered your question.
I was going to ask you do know this one.
She knows this one? Okay.
All
right. 1 point.
I haven't seen it, but I knew you were Indiana Jones. So like it's fun.
Deep cleansing breath, Brad. I need you back. I need you, Brad. Deep cleansing breath. Thank you. Speaking now, our producer did source me the template for my mask, which I turned into Sketchy Man. A totally made up superhero that whose origin story is still being developed in the writer's room.
So something like this. Your parents have died. You were abandoned and left to be raised by your aunt and your uncle.
Nice.
Someone shows up and says, you have a path you need to go on. They guide you along the path. For another day. Anyway.
Oh, come on. What happens next? Can't leave me hanging.
You have to stay tuned. That's our topic for next week. We're going to dive into the hero's journey, and I'm going to lay this thing out.
Actually, I would love to do hero's journey. That would be. Let's do that.
We're doing that next week.
Love it. All right, I'm excited. Okay, we're gonna. All right. But I'll save that. So okay, I guess it'll get two uses. We'll bring back my hero mask for hero's journey. Okay, well, let's make things not scary. Let's take the mask off of collaboration. There you go. Brad, do you have, well, I think we all have. I'm guessing you have probably positive and not so positive experiences with collaboration. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that
I have
fair
many
to say?
Experiences that go both ways. Yes.
Many, yes. Okay, so from now, okay, you give me you want to tell me a good or a bad collaborator? You want to do
Which one?
white
Which
hat or
one
black
would
hat?
you like?
Oh, I don't
Which
know.
one would you
How you
like?
feeling today? Well, okay, so you're sounding a little saucy. Let's go black hat collaboration when it has not
Oh,
gone. Please try to limit your response to, I don't know, a reasonable length.
theoretical. Let's just talk about one that I know. Somebody comes with an idea. They meet you. One way or another, you believe in the ethos and the intent behind said idea. You go, sure, I will help you out. I have a set of skills that might be helpful. And you seem like a good person. And hey, I can introduce you to other people who are more than happy to collaborate. Then you go down said path and you realize the person who gave you an idea, that's all they really have. And so you end up putting in time and effort into working together on something that has very little definition and really no pieces except for the ether that's in their brain and a dark, dark hole that they get frustrated with you because you can't execute something or you can't figure something out that you're supposed to be able to read their mind and just.
This is the person who had only the idea and that was it. And they're frustrated because you couldn't figure out the rest of their idea for them?
Something along those lines, yes.
Huh. Interesting. Can't imagine why that didn't work out, Brad.
You're telling me you've never had that happen?
Oh no, I'm telling you, I know exactly why it didn't work out because I have been there. I have been like slowly sinking in the quicksand of collaboration.
Hey,
going
part two. Here's
yeah.
part two of that
wait, there's
story.
more. Okay, please.
There's more.
Continue.
Great. So you said I've already sank this much energy into said idea.
Uh-oh.
I am now going to make decisions because I've now brought in other people to help with said idea.
So now basically you're saying, okay, I'm in charge now.
No. Stuff has to happen because in order to create momentum is important.
Got it. Okay. In the name of momentum. Got it.
You make decisions to make things happen. And since you start making decisions, idea person gets upset because the smallest of details don't match what pictures is in their head.
So you threw a lifeline.
So they get upset.
With some decisions and some momentum, and now we're kind of on our way, but wherever we're going doesn't match the half baked idea that got this whole thing started.
Half baked is generous.
Okay, fine. Quarter baked, maybe in the bowl still. Still on the mixing spoon. Okay, got it. And that where you're going, which in theory is where the idea was pointing in the first place, right?
Yes.
Dotted line.
Yes.
We don't know exactly, but generally speaking,
it's headed toward the result of said idea.
Right.
But it's not exactly laid out the way that idea person says it's supposed to be laid out.
But I thought they didn't have it. I thought they didn't have it laid out.
Well, agreed. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's bad. No,
and I throw this one out there for everybody because, and we've probably been on both sides of the fence at some point in time.
Right.
But this seems to be a recurring story.
Now, if this is a recurring story, you would think after say the first one might scare some people off, but no, not Indiana James over here. He's going to
not Brad James.
No, he's going to go. No, I'll take on another half quarter.
See brick wall.
This will be great. Love it. Okay, perfect. So you go and try again, is what you're telling me. You're like, oh, this one's a third baked. I'm sure this one will go better. or it's not the same person. I'm assuming you didn't do that again. But something
Yeah, I
about
made
this
that
you
mistake once or twice too in my
okay.
early age. Yes.
So I'm hearing you're not so much great. I mean, maybe you heard the lesson, you're aware of the lesson. You may have even you're starting to internalize the lesson, but not really applying the lesson.
I mean, I am applying the lesson. I'm just saying, if we're talking about collaboration, this is a thing that happens even with experienced people who are great at communicating ideas.
Ah, okay. So you're
because then
okay.
you get. I'm starting with the basics, right?
Got it.
So if we understand that this is the basic premise of collaboration, right? Typically, somebody has an idea. Everybody else is asked to go and execute said idea.
Yes.
And these are the general principles that end up happening.
Right.
Part 3 is everything falls apart, right? So
right.
But like different variations of it happen for different reasons. Another way is, hey, I'm the idea guy. I actually lay out said plan and map it out to a T.
Ooh.
Like so easy a kindergartner could do it if they just follow the steps. So everybody buys in. They believe in it. They say, sure, I have a special set of skills and maybe some friends to help you out. And then you lay out the plan. And the plan is great. Everybody's like, yes, this is awesome. And then what do they end up doing? They don't follow the plan.
Oh. Never goes, okay, so something happens where the plan just like goes no farther. Okay.
No, I mean, the plan is there. It's laid out to a T, timelines, details, budgets, everything. Everything is there. It's like a freaking book. And it's communicated clearly. There's many, many meetings to make sure everybody understands each step all along the way. But every step along the way, somebody goes, we don't need your stinking plan.
Uh-oh. Plans?
We're going to do it my way.
Just follow the plan. We don't need the plan. But the plan is oh. Okay. So there's belief in the idea, but not belief in...
For the fellow Bears fans out there, not the Packer fans that watch this, but for my fellow Bears fans, this is often what happens to our offense on Sunday.
You know what? You're not wrong. I think you're not wrong.
First step's admitting, right?
Awareness, admittance. Okay, so so these are all the things that, not all the, there's some of the things that don't work. And though we try and try again, we still run into same quagmire, brick wall.
Again, idea guy going, his plan. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
You keep working at it.
I love the convenient placement of the brick wall. Like that's we got to use that more often. That's fantastic. Okay, so what should we be doing instead? What does work? I mean, okay, so my whole premise to this is the collaboration isn't scary and therefore not always that bad.
It's not scary. It's not bad. I didn't say it was bad. I just laid out what happened.
Well, then give us give it an adjective.
This is called improvise, adapt, overcome every single time.
But
this goes back to planning is important. Plans suck.
Yeah,
often, if you don't even have a plan, it sucks even more. So when you're collaborating, like if you're collaborating, if we're basing it off of what we discussed last week, going into fight, flight, or freeze, all of those things are described within that awesome diagram, by the way. That's a very cool diagram. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think at each different step of the table, there's fighting, there's freezing, and there's flighting all along the way. And at each point where things don't go right, that's the initial thing that happens. But that's where the self-awareness or the resiliency of bouncing off the brick wall and going again is a significant part of collaboration that I think more and more people are less comfortable with now than they used to be, because we live in an instant gratification world where people want it right the first time all the time.
Right. And if it can't be,
to be honest, like, and it never is. It never is.
No. All right. So I'm seeing some gaps in our diagram and why we're ending where we're ending.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one thing that I'm seeing. We've got the idea. Cool. And we've got people who believe in the idea, but the idea is somewhere between the what and the how, but we're missing the vision. The idea is like the thing we're going to try, but the enrolling people in the vision about what it's going to look like when we're done and maintaining an alignment on that enables us to, ride out the brick wall and adapt and adjust, because even if we stray, if we're all pointing back at that same destination, right? I think our likelihood of success is much greater.
I mean, vision, I guess it's not outlined in that, but yeah, vision is also part of the idea, right? So, but the idea you're saying is the vehicle. I agree. Like, vision is important, but even I guess the point of this is that to understand that it's okay if collaboration doesn't work the first time with the same people.
Absolutely.
Like, to me, that's the part, because the why of this is I would rather have the person who failed the first time and learned a big lesson, and the next time you run it, or the third time you run it, or the fourth time you run it, they now get it, and now it's running over and over again. Because we do live in a world where collaboration is scary, because everybody doesn't know everything that we know. And there's even more information out there than ever, which is why the plan idea, that second scenario, I thought was important, because I think a lot of us tend to do that now. But then we also deal with this whole different aspect of, we're still dealing with, if you recall, the whole stories that align our values and everything. And then the state aspect of this whole thing that we talked about a few weeks back all comes into play. And so leadership in general has shifted from just being vision centric, the vision, the why, the how, the what, and the who, to this whole other level of, yeah, you can have that ethos around that, but you have to work towards getting ethos and alignment around all of those along the way. And sometimes that's not going to happen, and that's okay. You just have to be resilient enough to bounce off the wall and try again in a different way. Like, I was at a presentation this morning, and I think the whole adaptability, I think collaboration is about change, and adaptability more now than it is ever.
Collaboration is about change and adaptability. Yep, I would agree.
Because even if the plans are perfect, even if everybody buys in, there's going to be a hiccup.
Yep.
Or even if the plans are perfect, the team might shift because something happens. Or even if the plans are perfect and everybody's working at it, at some point in time, somebody might throw a wrench in things, or you might learn new things in order to make the plan and to execute the vision faster, right?
Something unpredictable outside of our control happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying I think collaboration is not scary if you go into it with a mindset of change is okay, adaptability is okay. You just have to be able to communicate those things along the way. So one of the things that I'm trying, like right now, actively trying to figure this out, you know this, Michael, is how to ask people, like, what is it that needs to happen in order to make this work better or get there faster? Like, that's something I'm actively working on right now with my vocabulary, my language, because the vision is clear, right? The idea is clear. The plans are there. They're not perfect because they need to be tweaked little by little. The people are there. There's a very clear set of skills that are outlined, and yet sometimes it doesn't work that way.
So
Oh.
so hearing what you're saying, here's what I'm taking away from that. I mean, I had this kind of dotted line with a lot of, open space between the idea and the destination. And I went back and I'm adding in loops and cycles in there because a cadence of iteration is necessary. We all know intuitively it's not going to go perfect, but if we don't actually have a cadence laid out up front where we check and adjust all along the way, and if that's not built in from the get-go, then we're 3 cycles too late before we realize, wait a minute, are we even on track? Like, have we lost track of the track?
I don't even know if it has to be built in. You just have to be ready when things don't seem right to take a breath.
It has to be built in because if I need to the constant recheck on alignment, because if it's me, cool, right? I'm working with a business owner right now who said at one point, she said, I get light bulb moment. She goes, oh, right, I have people now. This was great when it was all me and it only needed to be in my head. But as soon as it's me plus one, the calculus changes because I now need to be able to communicate and maintain alignment with somebody else, not even just because, I don't know if they understand, but I need to take what I am already thinking and get it out somewhere. And as the more you grow and scale a business, the more constant that happens because every new person you add in is a variable and it is an increasing likelihood of deviation. And therefore, that's why I'm saying that even if everything's cool, great, keep going. Right. I talked to a guy who did mortgages, and I think it was Tuesday. Tuesday was check-in day, and every single mortgage in process got a call on Tuesday. Guaranteed. 50 minutes on the calendar, every single one got a call. Even if it was just no change, cool, we're good. But the fact that he had that built-in cadence meant that no matter what, he never went more than a week without checking and verifying and updating statuses with all the players on a given, piece of work. And I admired that discipline. And I thought, that you will, the likelihood of you screwing something up is significantly diminished. And it feels tedious, but as long as if everything's cool, you just go on to the next one or, go back to whatever you were doing.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying that. And I think the other thing is, again, as things change, and I think if this is more than a quick collaboration, and most of them are longer term, kind of by definition, right? And actually, I know it has to be because if I go back to our fight, flight, freeze matrix, collaboration is way up here. And the only way you get there is by putting in time and energy. The only way you can achieve collaboration, because fight, flight, freeze are low energy, low time responses. If not no energy, no time, right? It's just immediate. In order to get past there, you have to invest time and energy, make a commitment to a different outcome than your instinctual reaction. So therefore, if we're collaborating, it's a long game. And therefore, establishing the long vision, and again, constantly kind of rechecking it as we go, is critical. Players are going to change, things are going to change, life comes up. I know some organizations that start every internal anything with a point to either their mission, their vision, or their values, depending. And it seems, again, tedious, but talk about maintaining alignment and ensuring that we are all on the same page and pointing at the same target is key. And that takes me to value, because this idea, this belief, these people, I think shared values is key, because you're going to rely on people to be making decisions without being able to talk directly and immediately to idea holder. And if I know that we're in alignment on the vision and our values, then I then have belief and trust in the players to make the calls, trust the guy in the foxhole, so to speak, because I know that we're all pointing to that same destination. And therefore, I have confidence that they're going to make the best possible decision in the moment with the information that they have.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm right there with you. I want to make it very clear that you can even have all that. And collaboration still. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be scary, because that's like a headspace thing, right?
You're absolutely right.
If you understand that these things are going to happen, you being essentially the person, whatever role you are in that collaboration, You
Yep.
have to go into it with your head being ready for pivot, pivot, pivot. Well done.
So to your mindset point, there's a mindset of open, right? An open mindset. And I from
Yes.
doing actual some work and some research on what makes great collaboration work, it's another way to say abundant, but it's more than just having an abundant mindset, right? Collaboration is, so I'm going to pull in a couple other theories here. So Stephen Covey calls this synergy, the win-win solution, right? It's an idea where 1 + 1 is 3 because we're actually creating something greater together than we could have on our own. Great collaboration is generative. It produces more. It's positive ROI. And
it's
the only way for that to
communicative.
happen, and it's yes. And the only way for that to happen
Which
is for
goes
me to
back to
kind
your
of
point. Yeah.
go all in. Like if
Yeah.
I'm holding something back, then I can't get that generative communicative property at the end here.
Mhm.
So it also means, and I think this is a thing. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever been on a project where somebody was a little bit secretive about their methods or their knowledge, and they kind of like
No.
black box? Shut up. They
Never.
black boxed a part of what they were doing because it was some secret sauce or something like that.
No.
Well, okay. In theory, if you had, how would that?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have.
I know. I add flash sarcasm. If you had, how does that stall, delay? What are the implications of people operating that way in a truly collaborative effort? What are the implications of somebody maintaining some proprietary whatever?
I mean, I think black boxing there's worse things than black boxing methodology.
Okay.
But if you're talking about it specifically from the standpoint of, I think there's a time and a place to do it, but not that's when you're running a factory line, right? Like where you're not asking for collaboration, you're asking for order takers to take direction and just run it. But that's not collaboration. I want to make that very clear.
Right. Yes.
So when you start leveraging that type of management, because there is a reason for doing that sometimes, there is in management.
Yes.
Depending on what the goal or the result is supposed to be.
Right.
It can work. But if you're talking about it in terms of managing through in collaboration, black boxing does not work 95% of the time. The point is not that everybody on the team needs to understand all the pieces and all the whys and why everything happens or all that stuff. No,
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But if somebody asks questions about a methodology, I think it's important to at least be able to communicate it in short snippets or be able to rationalize why it may not be important to them in that moment.
Right.
But at some point, having some reflection to help them understand the why will build rapport again and again and again, which is why your loop stuff comes into play. But I think I understand what your question is. Your goal with black boxing in this sense is not to hide it all the way and just say, just trust me. At some point, you need to bring it back around to give them rationale because it builds rapport.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand why people do black box things in collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's intellectual property for some people. Maybe it's, I'm not saying it's great, but I understand why they do it. But at that point, maybe they're not all in.
That's the indicator for me, is that they're not all in. It's like, I have the plan. It's a belief that
you have to define what the collaboration is, right?
Which is true. You need this and kind of rules of the road to get going.
Yeah. So if part of it is that's just my role and that's secret sauce and that's why you brought me in to collaborate, well, then that's your role, right? That's a contractual business thing. But if you're talking about, let's just say collaboration on a group project, that's a community project,
right,
that has nothing to do with your business or your well-being, it's you giving back to your community or your whatever.
Yeah.
And black boxing should not be a practice that happens because it will make those things that are non-incentivized from a financial standpoint go slower because it's purely intrinsic incentivization.
Right. Well, and also bottlenecking. I mean, that part of the idea is if I know at least enough about what you're doing and how you're doing it. Here's the thing: if I don't know anything that's happening between point A and J, right, then I can't necessarily give you as clearly what you need to run your part as well, right? It's that whole, if we're going to collaborate, I need to know enough to set you up for success. And if I don't know what's happening behind your scenes, then I might not be giving you as good of input, and I may not be fully understanding the output. And if that's happening, then we're bottlenecking, we're slowing down, we're losing some efficiency somewhere, because I mean, I want to trust the person, but I also think there's a little bit of that goes into this, which is that person being simultaneously overconfident and underconfident. It's like, I'm underconfident that you can understand it, and I'm a little bit overconfident that if I gave it, it's so good that if I gave it to you, you could take it, you could steal it and go do it yourself. Like, it's this, I don't know. I feel like this is a parrot. I need to keep this behind and under wraps. I feel like it's like a paradox mentality where I don't want to share it because I don't want you to take it away, but I also, which means I think it's really valuable, but I also somehow believe that I have no contribution to it. Like, it can run without me. I don't know. I'm not articulating this well, but it's this, I've seen it happen, and it's frustrating when it happens because it's like it's a paradoxical mindset that like doesn't hold water. It's what's the logical fallacy?
Why is it frustrating?
It's frustrating to me in a collaboration standpoint, kind of thinking back to times that I've run into it. It's frustrating because I know, again, like I could set you up better if I better understood what you needed, if I understood what you were doing, if I knew what was going on back here. Or there are moments when you might be out of position and now we're all stuck because, well, what's he doing? I don't know. We give him this and we get that. And I don't know what happens in the middle, right? And collaboration kind of by nature is that iterative process. And if at some point this needs to change out, or if that person sometimes, something happens that part needs to get unplugged, like the whole thing can get sunk because we have no idea what happened in the middle. So
I think that comes back to roles and responsibility. I mean, if we're talking about collaboration in terms of a result, I get where you're coming from, but I think that's a clarity on roles and responsibilities. And I think it also depends on the type of collaboration you're trying to implement. I totally get what you're saying. I also I'm trying to look at it from both perspectives. Good. Right?
Yeah, I'm the frustrated one. Get me off my box. Even it's a very rickety box, and I don't even know what's inside of it. But this is clearly I can't articulate this. I've just experienced it, and I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
It's sunk one or two collaborations for me.
Back to people, right? I mean, if there are people you can trust, and there's an understanding of what the goal is, and there's a clear mutual win-win. So this comes down to every collaboration, and collaboration to me is just not two people working towards the same ends. It's customer provider relationships, client provider relationships. It's teammates on a sports team. It's a lot of different things, but if it's not a win-win, then it's not actual collaboration, and you can't call it that. If it's so it's based on your methodology of how you do work, and you're actually making my gears go a little. How to define this stuff? This is something that now I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. Thanks, Michael.
Welcome.
Don't have time for that right now.
All right. Well, put it in the hopper. Elizabeth will throw it down the.
I think
down the sequence.
I think what you're defining though is that there are different types of collaboration, and I think if you understand the type of collaboration that it is, your black boxing may or may not make sense. I think in most of the relationships that you have and collaborate on, black boxing doesn't make sense, even if in your client and your relations, right? Because of what you do. So when people black box things, it doesn't help you serve them better. Accurate. But yours was like a solution, right? Like, I mean, when I used to be in the financial industry, right? And people go, well, tell me about all this stuff. I'd be like, I can, but that's a lot of time for me to put in to get you up to speed, because I put in
Right.
years to do this.
Sure.
So if that's the case, somehow you have to make a validation of is it a win-win, or is it you just being curious? If it's you just being curious,
right,
does it need to be understood? Because I have 24 hours in a day, and you are not my only client. And so I'm doing my best and I'm hitting the results in this collaboration because you're giving me needs and like things that we need to hit. And I'm putting solutions in place with my team and some of the other people that we're working with. Cool. But if you're asking me to basically spend time to explain to you every little detail, because that's the way your mind works. Your mind is a fact finder. You're an engineer. You're a detailed person. Then great. But you have to have perspective from my angle.
Right.
That's not.
And I can't just demand to know what's in there when it doesn't help me actually contribute to the outcome that we're aiming at, right?
Correct. And I think, and that's why I think I'm struggling with your black box concept right now. Yeah. Because I run into that all of the time. All of the time.
Okay.
Because I'm a teacher, right? I through conversations, that's how I sell. That's how I'm very much an educator. But often I have to go, look, we can have this conversation, but if we're doing this before you're a client, I don't know that you're going to be a client.
Right.
Or even in projects that there isn't something set in place.
Right.
It's like, great, but this isn't a win-win yet. And
even from a time investment. Even I'm going to invest my time to explain.
Right. Resources, time, money, and people. Right? The three resources that tend to be finite when you're doing collaboration. So you have to make judgment calls, which is why I totally get what that black box is frustrating. And I think it'd be worthwhile to discuss the different types of collaboration at some point.
I think you're right. Elizabeth is capturing all of our, we just, I think, created 3 future episodes, give or take.
But I definitely think it's something that has to be, and maybe this is one where we really need to dive in, Michael, and find some different thoughts on this one.
Okay.
This is a who's right conversation based on the type of collaboration.
Ooh, all right.
This is another game show. That's a game show.
I hear game show / dueling whiteboards. Somewhere in between. Okay. All right.
You get what I'm saying?
I'm with you. I love making work for Elizabeth, so this is perfect. That's
why she can't get caught up on movies, Michael.
This is why. So we're the problem. Okay, good to know. All right, let's get us out of here, folks. You just learned. I'm going to say all about collaboration. You learned some about collaboration because we got more to dig into. Remember, collaboration is not scary. It's about getting the people collaborating on the same page, pointing in the same direction, working in the same mode. And one of the most important things that I think we identify, what makes it scary is your mindset. So therefore, making it unscary is also about your mindset. So there you go. And take a flashlight because there's black boxes out there. Tune in next week when we illustrate.
And it's Halloween, and you don't know what's around that next dark corner.
Tell me about it. I'm not really scared of the dark. I'm scared of the startle. I'm scared of
I'll tell you what's around the corner, Michael, but this is a whole nother episode. We already are trying to get out of here. So let's not do that.
All right, let's get out of here. All right. So thanks folks for tuning in. On behalf of Brad James, me and Mike Rampola, and our amazing producer, Elizabeth, we want to say thank you for being here. We will see you next week for another episode of Sketchy Ideas. And remember, just because it's a sketchy idea doesn't mean it's not worth exploring. Be super out there.